Hi there, very good evening to this Tuesday edition of This Is Exclusive. Early morning, friends, we woke up to that typical Trumpist announcement from his Truth Social handle that he had got a ceasefire between Iran and Israel, and the war was stopping, and that the world should go and give him a Nobel Peace Prize. He almost said that without saying that, which he has been doing so for a while. But even before those headlines could be processed, Iran sent in a volley of missiles into Israel, and Israel reciprocated. In fact, by evening, Israel had seen the most devastating of Iranian strikes, in which 4 of its citizens lost their lives in Beersheba. And on the Iranian side, there were multiple bombings to the extent that by evening, in fact, Donald Trump himself was frustrated enough to indulge in some name calling, singling out Israel for the massive bombings that have happened post the announcement of ceasefire that he had made in the morning. And in fact, so unhappy and frustrated was the American president that he even used the F word. We are not using it. We'll make you listen to what he said while trying to convince the Israelis and Iranians again that please, since he has announced or made the announcement, please pull back now. He flew out of White House and to Joint Base Andrews, from where he's been wheels up to participate in the NATO summit. And it seems by the time he lands, hopefully his word would have been listened to. But it seems for now, it's a bit of an egg on his face. That's our focus with an exclusive conversation with India's former Foreign Secretary, Kanwal Sibal. Good ground reports from both Iran and Israel to give you an idea of how the day panned out post the ceasefire announcement of Trump. And then, of course, an exclusive on Operation Sindhu, India's massive evacuation drive from the Middle East. All that and more. Let's begin with the headlines.
We basically have 2 countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
Unhappy with Israel, Trump takes it out on Israel and Iran in an expletive-laden warning. US President Donald Trump dials Netanyahu, urging him to not strike and stop now. Despite Trump's claim, fresh explosions near Tehran, IDF strikes Iran's military radar site. Israeli President Isaac Herzog visits Beersheba after a deadly Iranian missile strike hits the city, kills 4. Welcome again, friends. The Middle East stands on the edge of chaos as President Donald Trump's much-touted ceasefire between Israel and Iran collapses in a matter of hours after he made that announcement. A deadly Iranian missile is struck Beersheba. Israel is reeling with destruction and loss, while Israeli airstrikes pound military targets in Tehran, sending shockwaves through the region. With both nations pointing fingers and escalating retaliatory strikes, the promise of peace has given way to devastation on both sides. We have some reports. Let's have a look.
Now the security forces are entering the house and we should leave because it's not safe to be here, and they need to check if this house can collapse like any other houses here all around, because it's not safe. And now the residents of the house have a few minutes to take the most important stuff from their house before it probably will collapse. And you see, this is the reality in Israel. People becoming the targets of those Iranian rockets. Now they have just a few minutes to take the most precious things, the precious ones, the most important things from their home before maybe it will collapse. Probably it is not safe anymore to live here, and all this neighborhood with a lot of those houses is completely destroyed just from one ballistic missile. This was just one of the places where the Iranian ballistic rockets hit. This place is one of the studential areas in Tel Aviv, and you can see how huge is destruction here all around. All this building is completely destroyed here behind me, and this was the target of Iran. This is just regular people living here, a lot of students, and also there is a lot of elderly population in this area, and see how destroyed all of this place, and this is just from one rocket.
All right, let's begin our conversation with former Foreign Secretary Kanwal Sibal. Very good evening to you, sir. My first question, did Trump jump the gun? Did he misread? Why was he so off the mark, perhaps yet again?
Well, I saw something from the Jerusalem Post which said that the way he announced it and the timing was not how it was intended. But Trump, as you know, wants to take credit, as he did in the case of the India-Pakistan so-called ceasefire and his role in it. So he jumped the gun, he made a premature announcement, and now he's embarrassed, and the kind of language that he has used to attack, to criticize Israel, and in fact put the major blame on Israel, just goes to show that his inclination to play to the gallery and draw attention to himself and use foreign policy as a kind of a personal theater.
Yeah. Like, is he really embarrassed, or just we think that he's embarrassed? Because that's typical Trump. He can do that and, forget about it the next day.
Sorry?
So I was saying, is he actually embarrassed, or we think that he is embarrassed and he is not, because he can do such kind of things 5 times in a day and then forget about them?
No, I think he's not bothered about how the rest of the world looks at his image. My understanding is, rightly or wrongly, that he's far more concerned about his MAGA base, how people inside the United States would look at what he's doing, especially his base. So his foreign policy, a lot of it is directed at consolidating and appealing to his base, rather than being concerned about what other countries think, because he's virtually annoyed his partners, his allies, he's insulted them, he's made territorial claims, he has snubbed them personally, he's made remarks on them. So he's not bothered. So I think he's got a very thick skin, and he thinks that he can get away with whatever he says or does, because the fact is that unless, of course, in the elections to the House in a year or in about a couple of years' time, he pays a price for the policies he's been pursuing, and the impact of those policies on his base. He will not change, because
Mr.
he's
Sibal,
super confident that he's on the right track and he can say and do what he wants.
Mr. Sibal, with the benefit of your deep experience in diplomacy and foreign policy, you think Trump has been just indulging in information arbitrage, like in the case of India and Pakistan, since the Pakistanis were talking to the Americans, since the foreign minister of India was in touch with the Secretary of State in Washington, D.C., and since the Saudis were also talking to us, just like the Saudis were talking to the Pakistanis. The Saudis in this case were obviously the Qataris in this case were involved on both the sides. So because there was information flow, Trump just got hold of it and processed it in his own fashion, and then, made the announcement, like in the case of India, Pakistan, so in this case.
You're right. In fact, the Qataris have said, I think the Qatari foreign minister, he has said that he played a role after Iran bombed the American base in Qatar. The Qatari foreign minister spoke to the Americans, and he spoke to the Iranians.
Yeah.
And he says that he brokered the ceasefire.
Yeah.
So that also is very peculiar.
So you think, my last question before I let you go, you think this expletive-laden warning that Trump has given to both the sides, more to Israelis, in fact, before he has, flown out of the United States for the NATO summit, is it going to work this time?
Sorry? The sound is not very good. We have to repeat it.
The expletive-laden warning that Trump has given to both Israel and Iran, you think now it will work on ceasefire?
No. This sound, your voice is...
Sir, my question was, now that Trump has again given a warning to both Iran and Israel, it did not work in the morning, but now would it work?
Look, again, the sound is not very clear, but let me understand what you're trying to say. The thing is that the ceasefire at the moment suits both sides because Iran has no air cover and Israel can freely attack targets in Iran. Iran has missiles. It was also hurting the Israelis very badly. Tel Aviv has suffered a lot of damage, and other areas in Israel, their Iron Dome hasn't worked very well. So both would have some interest in stopping this at this stage to prevent further damage. However, the issue is not that. The issue is what comes after. After the ceasefire, Israel will build up its defenses. Iran will build up its defenses. More importantly, the whole issue, the question of the nuclear program of Iran. How do you deal with it? How do you deal with it? Iran has said they're not going to cooperate with the IAEA, so the IAEA will cease monitoring that program. One does not know where the missile material has gone. So the issue will remain. The issue will not get resolved. So I don't know how Trump or anybody is going to deal with the future of the relations between Israel and Iran, because there are a lot of gray areas that are still left. A lot of unresolved issues. The ceasefire is just a minor step. It doesn't mean peace. It doesn't mean peace at all.
My takeaway is that the timing was perhaps suited for both the sides on that note. Thank you so much, Mr. Sibal, for joining us with that perspective. And for those who might have just joined the broadcast, let's look at how the day panned out from the time that Donald Trump made that announcement on his Truth Social post, to the time that Iran and Israel again were at each other, sending in missiles in each other's direction, with massive destruction on both the sides. And then, of course, Donald Trump again getting into the picture, hectoring both the sides with the use of expletives. Take a look.
In Beersheba of southern Israel, chaos and carnage followed a direct Iranian missile strike, one of the deadliest in recent weeks. Rescue teams pulled bodies from the rubble as streets lay blanketed with glass, debris, and scorched remains of shattered homes. This is the aftermath of a ceasefire that failed to hold.
What we've seen here is outrageous and extremely painful. That missile, which is one of the heaviest missiles of the Iranians, it's called Qadr. It's way above 400 kilos. Landed here specifically to kill women, children, old age, and people of ordinary lives. Demolished kindergarten and school, demolished apartments, and unfortunately had a heavy toll of 4 innocent civilians. I want to express my heartfelt condolences to the families.
Hours after a truce announcement, air raid sirens blared across North Israel. Israel claimed that Iran had violated the truce by launching missiles into its airspace, a charge that Tehran has denied.
לפני כניסת הפסקת האש לתוקף, הבוקר נורו כ-20 טילים מאיראן לאזורים שונים ברחבי הארץ. רובם יורטו. צוותי פיקוד העורף, כוחות ההצלה והביטחון, נמצאים כרגע בשטח ונותנים מענה באזורי הנפילות. לצערי, ישנם הרוגים ופצועים בזירת הנפילה בבאר שבע. חולצו מספר לכודים חיים. כוחות החילוץ של פיקוד העורף ממשיכים לסרוק בשטח.
Meanwhile, in Tehran, Israeli airstrikes struck military targets before dawn, sending plumes of smoke into the sky. Having claimed a successful ceasefire, US President Donald Trump now stands globally embarrassed as in less than hours, both countries traded missiles.
I don't think so, but I'm not happy that Israel's going out now. There was one rocket that I guess was fired overboard. It was after the time limit and it missed its target. And now Israel's going out. These guys got to calm down. Ridiculous. I didn't like plenty of things I saw yesterday. I didn't like the fact that Israel unloaded right after we made the deal. They didn't have to unload. And I didn't like the fact that the retaliation was very strong. But in all fairness, Israel unloaded a lot. And now I hear Israel just went out because they felt it was violated by one rocket that didn't land anywhere. That's not what we want, I'll tell you. And I'm telling you, I'm not happy about that, Israel, either. So all I do is play both sides. I'm going now, as you know, to NATO. Some of you are going with me, and I think it's going to be successful. We'll see. I'll let you know.
As of this morning, the fragile ceasefire brokered by the US has unraveled. The violations have prompted Netanyahu's ministers to order intense strikes on Tehran in retaliation. Iran, meanwhile, has said that its current focus is on confronting Israeli aggression. Trump claims to have been a successful mediator. Israel says all objectives of Operation Rising Lion has been achieved. But with the ongoing devastation, where is this conflict heading to?
All right, friends, India has been evacuating its citizens struck in the Middle East. Over 2,000, to be precise, 2,300 plus have been brought back in more than a dozen flights from nations like Jordan, from Egypt, from, of course, Israel and Iran. We have one such evacuee, and Ratndeep Chakrabarti, he's someone who was in fact reporting for us live from Israel. Ratndeep, thank you so much for giving us all that coverage from ground zero. But you are back. Please tell us how the Operation Sindhu is panning out. Your takeaways.
Well, firstly, I would like to thank the government actually for evacuating all the citizens at such a short notice, because a lot of the citizens were very frantic and they wanted to be evacuated at a very short notice. And the MEA contacted us, and with the help of the embassy in Israel. And India is the only country, by the way, which is evacuating citizens on both the fronts, from both Egypt and from Jordanian route. And it's a very difficult route to begin with. Honestly, yesterday, as we were in the bus, there were sirens blaring across Israel, missiles been fired from Iran. And it's a very risky operation, but it's been done with such precision that a lot of the citizens have been evacuated on both the days. And today as well, there will be another fresh set of evacuations being done. That's basically what the situation looks like when we look at what's happening in Israel right now with the evacuation.
All right, and it's to the credit of the government, of course, that not only we are evacuating Ratndeep, as you say, but we are evacuating from both the sides and with full cooperation from both the sides, and that gives an idea of the stature that India really commands, cutting across the divide.
No, I agree. In fact, I would like to tell you that I study in international school, and in my university, a lot of the students who comes from even countries like the US and the UK, even France, envies India because the command India has over these regions and the pace at which India could actually evacuate the citizens and at with ease it could do it. It's remarkable. We didn't feel any uneasy moments when we were in these regions.
Right.
and there was a full-blown war that's going on. So to evacuate citizens at this pace,
Yeah.
it takes a lot of efforts.
Yeah, tremendous effort and tremendous heft with diplomacy. Thank you so much, Ratndeep, for joining us with that update on Operation Sindhu. With that, we come to an end of this broadcast, friend. This is all we could pack in the time that we had. Short break on the other side. Trending with Rakshita.